Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Commerce Logic. Today we are going to discuss about tax planning, tax evasion, and tax avoidance. These are the various concepts we are going to study today. So before going into the discussion about tax planning, now let us have a look about planning. When we say the word planning, different people assumes different things about planning. So in my point of view, I have given a few words about planning here. So now let us see what is planning. Planning is a predetermined step we take before action. So in my point of view, before doing anything like from morning to evening, we are going to do many things. We will do many things. So for the things which we do, something or the other thinking is going or is running in the brain. So that means we are planning something. We are thinking something before doing an act. So that thinking process is called planning in my point of view. Then we plan before action. So before going to do anything, see, I am preparing for civils. So directly I cannot write. If I prepare, then I can write perfectly. If I go directly and write without any preparation, I can't write. I am not able to write the exam perfectly because there is no planning, there is no preparation. As there is no preparation, there is no planning. So how can I write the exam perfectly? So I cannot write the exam perfectly. So if I have a planning of preparation for civils, then I can attempt the examination perfectly. So to do any act, to perform any act, planning is necessary. We always say that practice makes man perfect. So here I will say that planning makes the action perfect. This is what I say about planning. And the same we can use in terms of tax planning also. Now let us move on to the next slide. Here we are going to discuss about tax planning. Now let us see what is tax planning. Tax planning is an exercise undertaken to minimize tax liability through the best use of all the available allowances, deductions, exclusions, exemptions, etc. to reduce the income and or capital gains. Every SSC will pay the income tax in the current assessment year for the income which he or she has earned during the previous year. So, tax is the liability of an assessee as he has to pay to the income tax department. So, the entire tax liability for which he has to pay to the income tax department, he will try to reduce the tax liability by using the available resources. For that purpose, he will go for tax planning. And what does the tax planning say? The tax planning provides the best available allowances, deductions, exclusions, and exemptions. These are the various things where tax planning guides us to use while paying tax. If you use these available allowances, deductions, and exclusions at the time of calculating your income, then there is a possibility of reducing your tax liability. So, what I am supposed to say is we can take complete benefits of all the deductions, exemptions, allowances, and rebates so that tax liability reduces to minimum. So, in my point of view, before going to calculate tax, just think about tax planning. It helps us to reduce the tax liability by taking full benefits of all the deductions, exemptions, allowances, debates, so that our tax liability is going to minimize. So this is all about tax planning in simple words. Now here comes tax evasion. It is a method of evading tax liability by dishonest means like suppression, showing lower incomes, conscious violation of rules, inflation of expenses, etc. Taxpayer will not only pay the penalty, but he also take the risk of prosecution. So here it is also one of the ways to reduce tax liability. But here there is one thing to remember. If the SSC uses tax evasion, he has to go for prosecution, because tax evasion is a technique of violating the rules. It is an illegal way of showing lower incomes. It is an illegal way of inflating of expenses. That means manipulating of figures whichever we have recorded here. So it may be a technique for reducing a tax liability, but it is also a technique of deceiving IT. So here it is advisable to go for tax planning rather than tax evasion. As prevention is better than cure, planning is always better than tax evasion. So, tax planning is a legal way of reducing tax liability, whereas tax evasion is not like that. It is some illegal way of reducing tax liability. It is not good for our wealth, and tax planning is very good for our wealth. So, it is better going for tax planning and avoid tax evasion. Now, let us here comes about tax avoidance. Any planning which strictly prohibits the basic intention of statute is termed as an instance of tax avoidance. So here the SSC will take full advantage of loopholes in taxation, and by using that loopholes he is going to reduce to pay the tax to the IT department. So comparing to the three of the things, my suggestion is go for tax planning rather than tax evasion and tax avoidance. Now we'll see about the differences between the three things: tax evasion, tax avoidance, and tax planning. So we'll discuss in tax evasion, tax avoidance, and tax planning. First, I'm going to tell you about tax evasion, then simultaneously tax avoidance, then tax planning. The first point of tax evasion is illegal way. As we have learnt, tax evasion is an illegal way. Then tax avoidance takes advantages of the loopholes, as we have studied. Tax planning, legal way of reducing tax liability. What would you choose in these three? I will choose third one, that is tax planning. Then second point of tax evasion, it is objectionable. Yes, of course. Then tax avoidance, it is immoral. We should not do this. Tax planning, moral in nature. We have to go for tax planning. Then third point of tax evasion is concealment of tax. We are hiding tax, we are hiding income here. That means we are not paying tax correctly. Here, hedging of tax. We are risking ourselves by hiding the tax in tax avoidance. And tax planning, we are saving the tax. This is 100% favorable to an SSC. Then overrules the law. Here we are not at all bothered about laws in tax evasion. So here it is overruling the law. Then what is happening with tax avoidance? Loopholes in the law. We are using all the loopholes in the law. Then what is there in tax planning? It uses the benefits of the law. So after studying all these things, I felt tax planning is obviously better. So I would choose tax planning. Then hope you all will choose tax planning like me. Thank you for watching. Please watch it, share it, like it, and subscribe the channel. Thank you.